Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Anna Wolf in the Cabin. Today I am joined by Leokadia George, the author of Trumpet and the Miracle Wolf. It is a series of books, a collection of children's books inspired by a real Mexican gray wolf at the Wolf Conservation Center in New York. Leocadia is not only a writer, but also a dedicated animal lover and volunteer, donating half of her book profits to wolf conservation. Her background in psychology weaves beautifully into her storytelling, bringing both heart and awareness to the cause of protecting these incredible animals. Leocadia, thank you so much for joining me here in another episode of Anna Wolf in the Cabin.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It's such a pleasure to be able to spread Trumpet's story.
When the request came through, I immediately said yes because I think if you followed my work, I have a deep love and almost obsession with wolves. Anna Wolf is not my legal name, but ever since I was a child, I was deeply pulled towards the animal, this creature that could speak to me, yet I knew that wasn't literal, but it was intuitively led. So tell us this. How did your journey start? Take us a little bit back to what flicker went off in your journey to take you on this path of writing these incredible series of books.
I didn't start out thinking I would write books. I started out as a volunteer at the Wolf Conservation Center. And in those moments I learned bits and pieces of Trumpet's story, and I kind of recognized that this would be a great story for kids, something that they could relate to, something that really could introduce them to conservation, including wolf conservation. So that's kind of how it started. It started with her actual story.
And can you take us a bit into that? If you can paint the picture of Trumpet.
So Trumpet, she was born to Rosa and Diego, two Mexican gray wolves. Diego was the number one genetically distinct wolf in the entire program, the breeding program to save Mexican gray wolves from extinction. So, because their numbers were so low when they found them, they really do have to have geneticists saying, who can be paired with who to mate. So Diego, unfortunately, he had fertility issues. And when I learned, that Trumpet, who is considered a miracle birth, had kind of a nickname, Trumpet the Miracle Wolf, pup, I was like, this is a really great title, and kids would really love to hear that story.
And when you approached the style of writing, what was your leading up moments to that? What would you describe was the best way to translate this writing and the way that you were framing this story to children? And also, what age groups of children would these series of books speak to?
So the books are great for children ages 3 to 8. I have gotten feedback from some families that they were able to read the books to their 2 year olds, and it just depends on if the 2 year old is able to sit through the reading. But the story itself, it does fascinate kids, like your experience, your fascination with wolves that started at a very young age. Whenever the subject comes up about to talk about wolves with young kids, they immediately light up, and they really want to hear the story. So yeah, 3 to 8 is a good age range. And as far as my style, the outline was the facts of her existence, what occurred in her life. So the outline was already there. It was just a matter of making it relatable to young kids, not overwhelming them with too much narrative or too many details. Just basically keeping it simple and true.
Love that. And tell me that the very first book, what was that titled? The very first series?
It's Trumpet the Miracle Wolf Pup, and the first one just has that title. But the second, third, and fourth book, they all have subtitles.
So you would advise people to buy all three and then steadily move through them from one to three, correct?
They're four now, and
Okay,
I did write them in a way that they can be read on their own. It's not that you have to
lovely.
read one before the other. They all depict different points in her life. The second one is Trumpet grows up, so that's pup development. The third one is Trumpet finds love. It's a bit of a love story, but also has conservation details in there. And then the fourth one, the newest one, is Trumpet becomes a mom. I did write it beginning, middle, end, so it's not that anything would be lost if, let's say, you bought the third book instead of and didn't buy the previous ones. Or you can buy them all and go through the whole different books one at a time.
When you were volunteering at the conservation, was it off the bat? Was it from the very first moment that you met Trumpet that there was something different? There was something speaking to you intuitively to lead you and pull you to write the book? And if so, how many times did you visit the conservation and be in her presence and witness her everyday hours? How much of that visualization played a role for you?
So when I first started off, I didn't even know uh, who Trumpet was. Um, so the Mexican gray wolves and the red wolves as well that are there, they're kept wild as little human contact as possible. So only animal care really goes there, but they do have web cameras. And so you can watch them 24/7 as long as they're on the camera. And so you can monitor them without actually being present there. I started learning about her story probably 6 months, maybe even more, after I started volunteering there. And I didn't learn everything all at once. I learned kind of bits and pieces. And it really I'm not even sure exactly when, but at some point I was like, why are we not sharing this story with kids? It's perfect for kids. And that's where it kind of started, where I kind of realized, okay, if we're going to share it with kids, it children's book would be the perfect format.
That is incredible. I love that you did this. I think there is something really rooted, deeply rooted in the story that I feel will translate not even to the kids, but to the parents reading this. Just the intention behind the story, I feel will really carry the message forward. When it comes to your writing, have you written anything else before you wrote the story about Trumpet?
No, I had no intention of writing books.
Wow.
It just, um, what really flows is her story.
Mm,
So
mm. And, earlier you were saying, when it comes to wolves, what do you think it is about the concept of a wolf? Why does it light up kids? I mean, if you if you were my psychologist, what is it about the wolf that I am so drawn to? What makes this mythical creature something supernatural and yet so natural?
yeah, I think it is a little bit of a combination of things. So obviously, there's the mystique or the mystery behind wolves. They are very silent, they're very shy, they're very elusive. So that in and of itself can draw people, including kids. Another thing I think that really draws kids in is they have they howl. This is something unique to them. This is something that's easily recognizable by kids, and this is something that kids actually love to do once they kind of learn that they can do it too, is to howl. There's something that's just very freeing, just to let out a howl, and especially if you can do it in a group howl, it's just something that bonds everybody. And it's
Mm.
so that I think there's just a number of different reasons why kids are drawn to wolves, more so than maybe some other animals.
I love that. Can you take the listener a little bit through book one? Is there a way you can frame that storyline in a way that will excite people to go and buy the book?
Sure. So book one is the introduction. It starts off with Trumpet's parents really wanting puppies. I did want to tie in the conservation aspect of the book. So I do have a couple of the people that work at the Wolf Conservation Center. They're in the book. I limited that to three. Again, it's for a young age group. I didn't want to overwhelm them with too many characters.
Mm.
So it just shows, Trumpet's parents wanting puppies, and also the staff there wanting puppies for a different reason, for the conservation aspect of it. And
Mm.
I wrote that in a way that younger kids could understand, and to build empathy. And then, of course, surprise, there is the puppy, the miracle birth. And that's just a wonderful thing, especially when I read the book to kids, just to see their face light up when they they realize that there's a puppy there. And so it was a lot of fun to write that, and just kind of give that introduction to her story, but in a really beautiful way.
Ugh, I love it. Just hearing your voice, it just makes me melt. Um, yeah, it just takes me on this little journey, and I feel like buying all of them. The second book is pub development, you said, is that correct?
Yeah, so Trumpet grows up. So one of the things that's really fun to discuss with kids, adults too, is how quickly and how um, in such a rapid manner, but so many different changes that occurs during pup development with wolves. They start out really small. They can fit into the palm of your hand. Their eyes are not open. Their ears are down, and so they can't hear. Then, within the first year, they become almost, half their full size. They look like an adult wolf at year one. So it's just a rapid growth rate. But through that, their eye color changes, their ears, pop up, and their nose grows. It's just it was fun to be able to put that down on paper, um, to show the different discoveries that Trumpet was having as she was developing, and also to throw in some fun moments in book two, like when she smelled her mommy's poop. That's kind of a fun moment to have kids give a little chuckle, and look at her face when when it's not as fun smelling as she had hoped.
So much. Do you see Trumpet as a character, this beautiful being in a conservation? Or do you feel, I mean, if we look at things more from a holistic manner, bit more bird eye view, do you feel like Trumpet was a guide who found you, and maybe not the other way around in a way, when you now look back on the journey of these four books?
In some ways, I do feel that, because and maybe not so. I mean, perhaps, yeah, I did play a role in it. I don't know if the stories would have been written down if I didn't decide to do it. But her story, there are so many aspects of conservation that her path has crossed. Not only, that she can show just how critically endangered they are by the fact that her father's DNA line almost died out if it was not for her being
Wow.
born. Just that
Mm,
miracle. But also in the third book, her mate was flown in from Arizona through
mm,
a group of pilots called Light Hawk Conservation Flying. They donate their
mm.
flights to saving endangered species, and they flew him
Wow.
in. As a thank you to them, they nicknamed her mate Lighthawk. And so it was the perfect opportunity to bring that aspect of conservation into the story and show that so many people are working to save this species from extinction.
Mm. Oh, the power of collaboration. This is, yeah, very beautiful. Your fourth book, can you frame that for us?
So the fourth book, it goes into more of a family aspect. One of the things that we really like to highlight is that packs, wolf packs, they're just families. So typically it's mother, father, then the puppies. But we have some packs at the Wolf Conservation Center that are just siblings. And, unfortunately in life, sometimes that happens where one of either the mother or the father will die or be killed. And then that family for that moment has one parent. So I wanted to highlight the family aspect, the bonds that are created. And so that's one of the things that really gets highlighted in the fourth book, as well as the education aspect, being able to teach others about conservation. So I did highlight that as well in book four.
You know, with a beautiful book range such as yours, when we look at the visuals itself, as a kid with our strong imagination, a book can be such an immersive journey. What do you hope a child, as the mother or father, whoever takes care of them, when they close that book, what do you hope the child will feel in their physical being after they've read the book?
What I really hope that they will feel is joy. I really, these books, I really wanted to make sure that there's always a happy, um, uplifting ending, hope for the future. That even though there is, and it's age appropriate drama, but there is a little drama as even though that occurs, that at the end there is hope, and through that process, that will hopefully build some resiliency um,
Hmm.
in kids, because I think that's something that's needed more than ever right now.
I love that. I feel your book is going to be medicine for people. Whilst you're framing these different series, you're already placing me in that world. And already, when you say joy, I can feel what you mean by that. I think, I was watching, I went and got a takeaway coffee today at my local, and I took my dog with. It's a Whippet Lurcher, and his name is Wolf. And we're at the restaurant, and I'm getting my coffee, and there was this small little child wanting to engage with Wolf, and he's very friendly with younger kids. And when you said the word joy, that is exactly what I saw in that kid's face today as she was playing with Wolf. And I said to her, Mum, I wonder what a kid at that age translates such an animal on four legs with all this hair and a weird face. What does their brain even think this is? And I heard, it's almost like a little voice inside me said, it doesn't matter. Look at the kid's face. Like they
Right,
are experiencing pure joy. They don't even have a label for this thing on four legs.
right.
And I feel like that's what you're doing here. You're even for the adults reading it with their child. It's taking you out of your brain and into your body and taking you on this little adventure. So it's what a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I really wanted connection. One of
Mm.
the things that I worked on with the illustrator, Maddie Moore, she was amazing. But I asked her not to show the faces of the people that are in the books,
Mm.
um,
Mm.
but to show the faces of the wolves. I
Love
wanted
it.
the kids to make that connection with the wolves, with Trumpet, with Lighthawk, with Rosa Diego, and now with her first litter of three puppies.
So, I had like three questions here, and my brain just totally malfunctioned because I don't know which one to ask first. So, okay, first, I think it's really important to also talk about what was your experience volunteering at the conservation? What can people do to help out at the conservation? And yes, purchasing your book, prize number one. I think there is a beautiful experience to give your child here. I think it's a beautiful gift. I mean, we're nearing Christmas now. I think it could be a beautiful set of books to get someone. Is there a almost a word of inspiration that you would like to give the listener on what it means to go and volunteer at these conservations, and also how can they help out? How can they get involved in the community?
So it really is an amazing experience to volunteer. And there's different ways to volunteer. For me personally, I like to get a little dirty. I assist with animal care. But that's for me. But there is also the ability to volunteer with grant writing. There are a number of conservation groups that need assistance with grant writing, perhaps legal work, or just, calling your representative and just requesting that they put more emphasis towards conservation. Um, there's just an immeasurable number of ways. Just like we highlighted, pilots they can reach out to Lighthawk Conservation
Yeah.
Flying if they're
Mm,
interested in doing that. So there's a lot of different ways that one can help, and it really is a great experience.
I love it. I love it. Do you feel Trumpet's tale is complete? Or do you still feel Trumpet's story will unfold as time continues?
Well, it's not complete. She is still alive and still living, and still experiencing new things. And actually, I do have a fifth book in the works,
Good.
not quite written yet,
That's what
but
I'm leaning towards.
yeah. So, again, her story highlights so much of conservation. One of the things
Mm,
that is done is to um, get more wolves out into the wild. Um, they have been cross fostering pups where they will fly out a little puppy that is less than 2 weeks old. So the eyes are still closed, they still can't hear. Light Hawk Conservation Flying has assisted with this. And Trumpet has a number of cross fostered pups out in the wild. So that's just one way that they can get more wolves and different genetic material out into the wild. It has been challenging, especially
mm,
since, the puppies in general, they have about a 50% survival rate. So unless you capture that wolf and when they do the wild wolf count, to know that the genetic material is had survived that initial growing up stage. That's not guaranteed. And one of the things conservation groups are emphasizing is they would like more family units to be released into the wild. The the family unit, that bonded family, that pack, they can help each other survive, whereas a little puppy,
mm.
it's difficult, it's not an easy start to life.
How, you've had, I was going to use the word extensive volunteering experience. How do you do it? How do you, I often struggle to get involved with animal support. And I mean, I do end up doing it, volunteering, etc. But it's quite hard for me from time to time because it gets quite real. It gets quite sad quite quickly that it's still wildlife, it's still animals. Do you have moments like that? And do you have a word of advice for anyone who feels, look, I want to get down and dirty with these animals and go
Yeah.
and volunteer, but sometimes it's hard for me to, I guess, when one is sensitive and you want to rescue the world, how can one get involved but not take it on? What would your word of advice be there?
So in general, I would say, life is fleeting. I think that we need to remember that, every day is a gift. Um, but to sit on the sidelines, that's not me personally, I don't think that's the best use of your gift. I think it's always to pay it forward. And you have to remember, animals, they do live in the moment. They will live their day the best that they can, and then the next one comes or it doesn't. But they live in the moment, and I would say maybe that's something that, at least we should remember, that that's an important part. Um, if you hesitate, if you don't give because you're concerned about getting hurt, well, then perhaps your impact will never be made. There's just in writing these books, there was I had some hesitation, some fear, um, some vulnerability in putting it out in paper, seeing this vision through. But if I hadn't done it, the smiles on all those kids' faces, they wouldn't be have been had at her story. And so I think that we have to remind ourselves that we do have so much to offer, and why not give it when we have the chance to?
I could not have said it better, and thank you so much because what you did is you just pulled me out of my brain. And I needed to be pulled out of my brain, and you're totally right. Not to, I don't want to go too far from these series of books because I really want people to go, and I have a lot of friends with kids, so I really want to motivate them to get out there and get their hands on the books. However, I am curious as a writer. Are you dabbling at all in the proposition to go into more of a young adult in writing, maybe taking Trumpet's story into an older age market?
So, I have thought about writing for an older age group. One of the things that happened is that when they did the wild wolf count, I think it was a couple years back, they did find a juvenile wolf. I think he was 5 months at that time, and they all have a chip indicating who they are, and when
Mm.
they scanned that chip, it was one of Trumpet's puppies.
Wow.
So they did find one of her puppies that survived, and they gave him a collar and started tracking him. Now, an idea for me in the future is to write, about that wolf and his
Yeah.
journey in the wild.
Yeah.
And I would like to do that for an older age range, maybe an early
Love.
reader, something I would, kind of dabble in and kind of, play around with to see what works best to tell that next part of the story.
And would you then just go? I don't know if this is a an obvious question, but like, would you? How would you then make that story come to life? Like, would you get quiet within yourself and then think of all these adventures that he would have to go on? Like, how would you frame that?
Well, they have they've tracked where he's
Like, you
been.
can physically see him. You can see him.
We can't see him, but we know where
Mm.
he's gone.
Got it.
And
Got it. Yeah.
so with that, we can kind of see what kind of animals are in those areas, what kind of
Wow.
what kind of experiences he could have experienced.
Yeah.
Obviously, I can't know for certain what he's experienced, and of course the tracking is not done, at least it's not given to the public in real time, just for safety reasons, that no one could go out and try to, meet this wolf. I don't know why you'd want to. He's living
Yeah.
his life better
Yeah.
without humans and
Human
trying to see
interaction.
him. Yeah. But
Exactly.
um but yeah, it would definitely give a guideline, and
Yeah.
I
Okay.
do know a little bit about the family, so
Yes, of course.
there would be some guidelines.
Well, whatever I can do to help as an artist, as someone who can write music in support of, I'm here. My door is open. I would love to, if there's anything that pops up from the conservation side. Yeah, just feel free to reach out in whichever way I can help. I would be honored to do so. Um, so yes, that is, and it's funny because my very first single that was released in 2012 was titled Wolf as well. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
yes, this conversation was very much a synchronized moment. So
Excellent. Yeah. Of course. Yeah, I would
thank you
love
for
that.
your, uh, just a pleasure. Thank you for your beautiful answers. Thank you for framing things so beautifully. Thank you for wanting to make humanity just escape a bit more into joy and to realize who they are instinctively and intuitively. I believe wolves and books like yours are reminders that we belong both to the wild and the miraculous. So, my hope is that this conversation lets people hear trumpets howl and maybe even their own. Is there any last words you want to share with the listeners?
Yeah. So one of the things that is really nice to do is to hop on these web cameras from the Wolf Conservation Center and just kind of watch these wolves. They don't know that they're on camera, but it really is. It can be peaceful. I will warn you, it's you can lose a lot of time watching these wolves. They are
It's better than
fascinating.
scrolling on Instagram.
Yeah, sometimes you're just watching them sit there, and you just continue to watch them. And then also for younger kids, the mating season, they don't censor.
Yeah.
Or, in the winter months, December, January, February, there might be some action that, if you're as parents, you might not want your kids to see. Um,
Yes.
but then in the spring, there's the potential for puppies. And this fourth book, the
Mm. Mm.
Trumpet Becomes a Mom, she gave birth to this litter live on camera. So
Oh my
you
gosh.
really can see some joyous moments in that.
Ugh. Uh, I'm gonna be honest. When you were sharing, what a person can do if you're too scared to volunteer, etc. Like I was crying because you hit it on the nail. Like life is so quick. Like if you can do anything to pay it forward, oh, then for me it would be going into that animal rescue space and just doing whatever we can with our gifts, with our strengths to, as you say, pay it forward and leave things better than you found it. And tell me this, where can people get your book?
So all pretty much all online retailers, including Amazon, the big one,
Yes.
and then Barnes and Noble. So you can get them online. They are starting to pop up in some independent bookstores, especially in like the New York and Massachusetts areas. And of course, libraries, more and more libraries are adding these books to their collections. But yeah, I think the easiest way is probably those online retailers.
Are you going to do an audiobook?
Um, it is something that I'm thinking about. Right now, I'm doing the launch, but I would like this to be an audio version. So that is something that I'm thinking about, and I do have someone in mind that might be able to help me with that.
Beautiful. Again, if you need help, I'm here.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Social media wise, how can people follow your journey?
You can find me, um, you know, you can email me either leokadiageorge.books@gmail.com. And there have been different interviews that I have done, so you can look for those. Wiley and Baxter Publications, they are the publisher, and they have Instagram stories, and of course, the Wolf Conservation has a huge social media platform, um, and you can find them Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all those. So that definitely you can see a lot about either the books or Trumpet or myself in those platforms.
Thank you, and thank you again for your energy. And I pray that you will continue to write and continue to tell stories of many animals for that matter. I think you have a way of framing these stories for people that it lands in a unique way for each individual so that they too can go find their voice in this world. Leokadia, it's been an absolute honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll speak soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.